So the first experience number one, coming from, again, from the conference in April. And before we jump into it, but the name of it is Prepare My People. So first, welcome to Tuesday night. Second, welcome to a night spent discussing the revelations of God. There's this wonderful time period where Jesus speaks to his disciples, and he asks them a direct question. He asks them, and this is in Matthew 16, if you want to read this later. He asks them, who do you say that I am? Whom do they say that I am? Speaking of the people, speaking of their works out amongst the people as they're bringing the message of Christ to them. He's asking them for some feedback. What are you hearing? Who are the people saying that I am? And Simon Peter answered, thou art the Christ. Oh, I'm so sorry. He asked, who do they say I am? And then he says to them, whom do you say that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it to thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And he says, upon this rock I will build my church. Speaking of the revelations of God. Upon this rock, these revelations, the rock of revelations, will I build my church. And I would add, not that Jesus' words need amending, and I'm being very bold to say this, but I would add, and I will sustain my church based upon the rock of revelation. And so tonight is about sustaining the church. So this first experience is filed under the title, Prepare My People. And here's the experience that was brought to the church, accepted by the church, and then I'm going to even share with you the comments from the ministry. See my servant now and hear his words, thus saith the Lord. And at that moment I beheld in front of me an angel, being dressed in white and adorned in the glory of God. He appeared to have golden white hair, and I recognized him as the angel Gabriel, whom I have seen before. So our brother who's having this experience has some familiarity with this open vision and this particular angel, Gabriel, the same Gabriel that you read of. And he began to speak to me and said, I have been sent from the Father to show you now the turbulent times that are before you. Son of the latter day, look, what do you see? And then I saw a vision of the Capitol building of the United States of America. It began to crumble at its foundation. The angel spake and said, look now and see. A house that is divided cannot stand. This now is what will happen. What will happen? Your government will fall in confusion, and the nation will suffer from it. See now, son of the latter day, what do you see? And I then saw greater chaos in the streets of the large cities. I saw anger and frustration. I saw people being assaulted. The angel then spoke again, stating, Son of the latter day, see now how when the protection of God is taken because of disobedience, see now how sin and evil can rage in the hearts of men and women. I would challenge you all to be observers and not judging anything. Don't take a side, just listen to the experience itself. Don't think, oh, I know who those people are. I know who that group of people is. We don't know that. We just know that this is speaking to a nation divided, not picking sides, not saying one is right and one is wrong. Just the United States of America is not united. Son of the latter day, that's all my commentary. Son of the latter day, what do you see? I then saw the United States Army and its tanks were driving into the cities. They appeared to be trying to keep order. The angel spake, saying, Son of the latter day, know now that civil unrest will be heightened, and it will happen within these next few years of your time. Look now, and what do you see? I saw the World Operations Center of the Church of Jesus Christ in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and the saints of God were gathering there. They were running to the building to get inside, as if to seek safety or shelter. I then saw a white wall erected around the conference center. It was an impenetrable barrier. The angels again spoke, saying, Son of the latter day, see now how the Lord protects his own. How when you find yourself in the haven of God's house, the Father, the Creator, will protect and will preserve. See now how you must flee to this haven, how you must find yourself within the confines of this place, safe by the hand of God. Son of the latter day, what do you see? And I saw the auditorium in the conference center. There were gold plates, the records of the Book of Mormon, and the sealed portion of the brother of Jared sitting on the sacrament table. All eyes were focused on those records. The angel then said, Son of the latter day, see now the truth that will come forth, and be presented before you, before those who have found themselves anchored in this haven of rest, this place of safety, this ark of safety that the Father has created. See now how that when this comes forward, it will deliver light to the world. And then will you see the dawn break. And then will you see the miraculous glory of the Lord Jesus Christ descend now upon the people of God. Prepare now, son of the latter day, and keep your heart right. Immediately, the gift of tongues came forth, followed by the word of the Lord stating, Thus saith the Father, hear now the words of my servant Gabriel, who has given this message to you. See now what is before you, and know that your heart must be sure. Your heart must be right, and you must be anchored to the principles of my Son, Jesus Christ, the rock of salvation that was given through him and the sacrifice. Are you there? Is your vision clear? Are your eyes focused? Is your love in your heart, or is there malice? Is there love in your heart, or is there malice? Cleanse it now. Cleanse it now that you may see and you may be part. Thus saith the Lord. And the experience ended. But let's stay up there first. Experience. So this is the litmus test that our brothers have to go through to decide whether this is a revelation of God. Is this a revelation of God? Is God making something known, or is he reaffirming, reminding, and then another word for it, is he chastising the church? So let's go through it and see. Yes, this is a revelation of God, a reminder, a reaffirmation of our church beliefs, what is currently happening in the world and the nation, that the Lord will protect his people. He says his church, his people. This is also a revelation in that it is giving pertinent info of latter-day events, results of a mighty Gentile nation that turns away from God. We read this prophecy throughout and gives insights for future events so that we can be prepared as a church and as a people, and as we talked about tonight, as an individual amongst those people, taking full and personal and individual accountability that we might be numbered among the people of God. What does it mean? So the first thing it says is there's a need for preparation. Remember, the theme was prepare my people. We must be ready as turbulent times unfold. Be focused to carry out the work of the Lord as taught through the parable of the 10 virgins. Each of us taking accountability, each of us owning our own calling, that we might be numbered among the called according to his purposes. Each of you, this is not something for that brother or that sister or someone else. These experiences are for me, and each of us should use that pronoun in our sentence, for me. Our hearts continue to be to be the focus of preparations, meaning we're encouraged to labor to purify our hearts from unrighteousness. Now we hear unrighteousness and maybe we run to behavior. Maybe we run to what we've always seen as good behavior, and that's what righteousness is. But that's not what our brothers point out. So let me read this to you. We are encouraged to labor to purify our hearts from unrighteousness, defined as malice, anger, hate, jealousy, envy, pride. Being filled instead of these, emptying those out of our hearts and being filled instead with the love of God. Also, we need a willingness to gather with the saints, as it's symbolized by the World Operations Center being the place of refuge, Sister Terry Lynn, or the church that you go to, with a white wall. No one mentioned the wall. By the way, that was the one I was going to point out, and I forgot to say it. That's the thing that caught my eye, that impenetrable wall that was around. And I wondered what you all thought that wall was. Anyway, being a place of refuge with a white wall of protection around it. Going on. Instruction. The Lord is giving us instruction of the latter day events that are all a fulfillment of scriptural promises, instructing us to examine ourselves as we see the results of disobedience and to correct our focus and prepare our hearts. Again, individual accountability, not looking to your brother or sister to the left and the right of you, just taking account for yourself. That's all you can do. Telling us to stay close to God, telling us to stay close to the church so that we're ready and able to follow the direction of the Lord as turbulent times continue to unfold, instructing us to be knowledgeable, instructing us to be aware of the latter day events so that we are prepared. Deeper insight into future events. Lack of unity and lack of obedience to the principles of God yield a weakened foundation. You are that foundation, each of you. Increasing confusion and a withdrawal of protection from the Lord. This is evident in the portion of the U.S. Capitol building foundation cracking. Military involvement in the cities, chaos in the streets. The angel said that the country would fall into confusion because of the lack of unity, and the people would suffer. This developing situation can be seen in the current events today. We see it. The Church of Jesus Christ, as depicted metaphorically and maybe literally, some of you took that very literal, that's fine, by the World Operations Center. And it will become a haven of rest for those who are willing and open to hearing and accepting the principles of Jesus Christ. Many were seen running to the World Operations Center, and many will be in the days of trouble. When we are in a safe place of the church and its beliefs, then we find protection, as depicted by the wall surrounding the center. This is representative of holding firmly to the beliefs of the Church of Jesus Christ, which are founded on the message of Jesus Christ, where any branch can be depicted, Sister Terry Lynn, any branch can be depicted as a safe haven. Reception of greater information will come to us with the coming forth of the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon, the records of the brother of Jared, as described in the Book of Mormon. This portion was not permitted to be translated originally when the Book of Mormon was compiled. The brother of Jared saw all things from the beginning of time to the end, and was commanded that the info that would come forth by the power of God in the Lord's time, meaning it will come when the Lord sees fit. Or as Brother Ken says, it's none of your business when. It'll come forth when it's the right time. This is a hope for the church. By the way, that's why that sacrament table is so hopeful and exciting. Brother Sebastian, there's your word again. It's exciting to see those books together, those records together, representing so much. So there's hope for the church in the latter days. There's a greater truth that will be given when this info is presented. We get more and more info, more and more truth. We get closer and closer to our goal. The depiction of the records in the World Conference shows that this record will be given to the Church of Jesus Christ, and all will be a witness to the truth of it. This will give validity to the Book of Mormon, and this will validate the priesthood authority given to the church. Does it apply to the church or an individual? This message applies to the Church of Jesus Christ, individually and collectively. We as individuals need to be found faithful. Again, personal accountability, serving Jesus Christ, covered by his blood and his righteousness. We need to keep our hearts pure through individual surrender to his commandments and his will, maintaining a perpetual spiritual readiness. Prepare my people, no matter what the chaos, no matter what hardship occurs, maintaining. We must possess the pure love of God. We must be cleansed of sin in order to reach the level expected, reach a level of righteousness and sufficient faith. that in doing so, the church will be blessed with greater power through the truth of the Book of Mormon, through the truth of the restoration. Okay, if it applies to the church, how can we implement it? The quorum of 12 apostles working hand in hand with the general church priesthood must encourage, must advise the saints, each of you, to stay within the ark of safety, the church. This is where the protection is found, is what that experience told us. Study the word, study the scriptures, in particular, those that help us to understand the events that will befall our nation and the world as the Lord unfolds his plan. For many, these scriptures are difficult to assimilate and can seem irrelevant. We need to help everyone acquire a heartfelt understanding of them in a relevant context, in the application of them, not just hearing the words and being somewhat familiar, but how to apply those. The message can be implemented by the ministry going through the scriptures, preaching, teaching in Sunday school classes, and midweek services. All aspects of this experience convey an urgency. By the way, that's what I highlighted in all of this. Convey an urgency. Therefore, we are admonished to clear our visions, focus, purge our hearts of malice, filling them in that void left. When we purge our hearts of malice, there will be a void left, filling that void instead with the love of God in order to see and participate in God's unfolding plan and kingdom with Jesus. Beautiful, just beautiful. All right, this is the second one, and it's really just another message on preparing ourselves. Last night I had a dream. This was in so that we all see October of 2021. Last night I had a dream. It started out, I was in a field of sorts, and that the weather was terrible. And there were tornadoes that were supposed to be coming that way. I decided I needed to look for shelter, and there were people who were seeking shelter by hunkering down in open areas. But I kept searching. I knew I was near the Fredonia mission. I just had to get to it. Finally, I got closer to the building, and I could see that tornadoes were an issue. But there was a raging fire that was sweeping up everything in its path from another direction. And it was heading towards a mission as well. I knew I had to get there before everything was consumed by either the fire or the tornado. I found my way into the building through our front entrance, and when I was entering the sanctuary, I saw both sides of the pews. Now listen to this. Listen who he sees, or she sees, or they see. I don't know if this is a male, female. I don't know who had this experience. One on the right side was my mother, who appeared to be knelt down and in prayer. On the other side was the rest of the Fredonia members standing together in prayer. I went over to them to join them. I never once tried to go to my mother, even though I would have thought that I would have, because I had lost her about a month ago. While we were in the building, you could hear the howling winds outside and things being tossed against the building. You could touch the floor of the building and feel the heat from the fire, but that was all. While in this huddle of prayer, I felt that if the building and us should be consumed by the fire or tornado, then this would be the best place to be when my life would end. But there was this amazing feeling of calm in not only myself, but everyone else. Then everything going on outside the church building stopped. The weather was calm and the fire was gone. Our building had been preserved. The only thing that was some of the floorboards seemed loose. God took care of us and the building. Is this a revelation? Yes. The experience is a revelation, a reaffirmation, and a reminder that there's safety in the Church of Jesus Christ. What's it mean? As we are aware of prophecies of destruction, the experience tells us they will be fulfilled in a land that is turned away from God, and his principles have become susceptible to the effects of the purging or destruction. The Church of Jesus Christ, through the acceptance of Jesus Christ, which is the front door, you must enter through Jesus Christ, is the necessary safe place that the believers must find, because protection is not available outside. While even believers will experience some of the effects of destruction by sheltering in Christ, represented by the church building, they will find safety and remain calm. When the dreamer entered, others were seen inside already praying. This indicates that other believers found safety in the church also, though still seeking the Lord for his protection. The dreamer's mother was also seen praying for the church, but separated from the group, symbolizing her having passed on to her reward as a faithful sister. Does it apply to the church or does it apply to an individual? The experience applies to both the church and the world. The members of the church must understand their role both to take spiritual shelter and to offer sanctuary to the world through the gospel. That's what we've been talking about for the last 15 minutes. Continue to teach, continue to encourage the membership to stay close to the Lord, to continue to tell them to trust him through trials and teach them of the latter day promises so they understand and are not fearful. Learn more of latter-day events. We heard this in the last one as well, and prophecies, so we're equipped to understand. Remind ourselves as often as necessary that we're not only the seekers of shelter, but we collectively comprise the body of Christ. So the church must be the provider of shelter. You are that provider for those around you, each of you. So, given that, and I heard someone say this already on the call, here's your homework.